The words of the Gospel of Matthew, which have been preserved by the Church and handed down to us through the centuries, for our hearing, our understanding, and our discussion. If you decide for God, living a life of God worship, it follows that you don't fuss about what's on the table at mealtimes or whether the clothes in your closet are in fashion. There's far more to your life than the food you put in your stomach, more to your outer appearance than the clothes you hang on your body. Birds, free and unfettered, not tied down to a job description, careless to the care of God. And you count far more to God than birds. Has anyone, by fussing in front of the mirror, ever gotten taller by so much as an inch? All this time and money wasted on fashion. Do you think it makes that much difference? Instead of looking at the fashions, walk out into the fields and look at the wildflowers. They never primp or shop, but have you ever seen color and design quite like it? The 10 best-dressed men and women in the country look shabby alongside them. God gives such attention to the appearance of wildflowers, most of which are never even seen. Don't you think God will attend to you, take pride in you, do the best for you? What I'm trying to do here is to get you to relax, to not be so preoccupied with getting, so you can respond to God's giving. People who don't know God and the way God works fuss over these things, but you know both God and how God works. Steep your life in God reality, God initiative, God provisions. Don't worry about missing out. You'll find all your everyday human concerns will be met. This is the gospel of Christ.
Praise to Christ the Lord.
I bet you've never heard the gospel like that. What I'm getting you to try to do is to relax. I don't think I have ever heard anything like that in seminary. I certainly have not heard it in church before. This is Eugene Peterson's idea about what the gospel is about. And I think it's a wonderful translation. Even if you don't agree with it, even if you think it's just so far off, it is a new take on a very, very well-known and old gospel. There's lots of things to be thankful for, not only in this particular reading, but in everything that's happening, even just in tonight. First of all, we have people here tonight who've not been with us before, which is a great mitzvah, a great blessing, a great thing to be thankful for, and we welcome you. Tonight, I saw Ray sing 4 verses of the first hymn. It's never happened. 3 and the book is shut. He's already made up his mind. I know this is he's very concerned about the hymns, and 3 is just enough. Tonight there was 4. Another year there'll be 5. Who knows? But it is a wonderful moment. We have Jeffrey here tonight, and we don't get to see Jeffrey very, very often. We have 2 people who are here tonight who have found an accessible church in more ways than one. That is a wonder. We have as many people in the choir almost as we do in the congregation. The choir has never sung on Thanksgiving Eve. That's not surprising. We didn't have a choir before to sing on Thanksgiving Eve, but here you go. Not since the 1950s has the choir sang on Thanksgiving Eve. It was a long time. It was before I was born that the choir sang. So you know it's really a long time ago. We have so many people here tonight that we didn't run enough bulletins, and Joanne took the bulletin from up there, so I had nothing to read when you left. That's never happened before. And I had to steal Rosemary's, because I had to look on Fran's, who didn't know why Rosemary was looking on her paper and thought she had missed something. Well, it's nice to laugh about it, but there is a lot to be thankful about just in the gathering tonight. Every gathering, every time the church gets together, any time the people get together in the name of God, it is a joyful event, even if it's for very sad reasons, or for reasons that make us think, I was reading President Lincoln's commentary, his proclamation. I don't know what you were thinking, but I was thinking it'd be nice to hear that type of proclamation again from a Republican president. If you think how far we've come in the word Republican to then, from then until now, beginning of the Republican Party, just about all the way to the present moment, and you read those words again, it does make one stop and think. And I think all the lessons from tonight make one stop and think. The lesson for Deuteronomy seems to start out so nicely, and then it evolves into some sort of almost warning, theatrical warning of watch out. And then you have the reading from the Epistle of James, which Martin Luther absolutely hated. He hated it so much that he didn't include it in his own Bible. And Lutherans did not read this particular epistle until the 20th century, because he didn't like the fact that you needed to do something in order to have an audience, if you will, with the living God. He believed that it was only by grace alone that was all sufficient. But no, James says it's more than that. It's works. You can't just hear it. You have to get up and do something. It's a call to action. And Luther did not like that at all. But the early church thought this was very, very important to include it as a balance to what Paul had said. And so you can see the tensions in the early church already between those who said you don't have to do anything and other people say we have to be active all the time. I don't know what you think, but in my mind, the way the last couple of weeks have gone, especially in the Episcopal Church, I've learned that it's not enough to just be a hearer only. One has to get up and do something. Because if you sit at the sideline, there are people who, even though they say that they are just hearers only, get up and do more than you do, walk right past you, and take the whole game with them. So it's important, I think. I think James learned this, if he indeed was Jesus' brother. He learned by having Peter and Paul around that if you sit and let Peter and Paul do it, they will, and they'll run away with the game. If you want to have your own game, if you want to have your own church, if you want to have your own place, then you better make sure that you're moving just as fast in the same direction. And that brings us to what Jesus has to say in tonight's Gospel of Matthew. I love this one part here, and this would be a good sign thing, Joanne. What I'm trying to do here is to get you to relax, to not be so preoccupied with getting, so you can respond to God's giving. And I think that's really quite amazing, that we are so preoccupied so many times in getting, and we think that the opposite of that is giving, but it's not. The opposite of getting is not giving rather. It is responding to God's giving. So it's actually just being still enough for a moment and not really running past the whole game so that we can be thankful for what it is that we've been given. Do you know people who won't let you give them anything? Oh, no, I couldn't take that up, no. And you're like stuffing it down their shirt front or something, here, please take it. And they won't let you. They won't ever let you give them anything. And that's just not a very joyous person to be with. You begin to think after a while, well, what did I do? Why is my gift not good enough? I'm thinking about it. The kids are getting ready for Christmas, and they're starting to sing, to learn the Little Drummer Boy. And about the gift that the little kid who didn't have anything else just was able to give, the beat of the drum. And was that enough? And what if that gift was not gratefully received? What if it was never, ever acknowledged? Well, we're at this time of Thanksgiving, and every year as we come up to it, it seems like it's really just a jump start to Christmas. Really, if we have a chance to stop and actually have a moment to think about thanks, we often think about the things that we are thankful for, but we don't have a chance to think about the fact that God has given us something, or the world, or the universe, however you want to, whatever it is that one believes in, that there are things given to us, or that are ours. solely ours. And we have the right, if we want, to share the one with the people. But that's not what Thanksgiving is about. It's about taking time to be thankful for what has been given, for what we have. And then, if one wants to share it, it's okay. But it's not even required, which I think is really interesting. I think that people think in the Christian life that we're required to give somehow. No, it is a response in Thanksgiving for what we've been given. But we don't have to give it. We can if we want, but we don't have to. But what we are supposed to do, if we've heard the word at all, is to just stop and be thankful. That is enough. There's that old saw, which I know you've probably heard before, but it's a story that bears repeating. Even if you shake your head as I say every word of it, and say, yes, okay, he's going to tell that one again. But the story about the two monks, the Buddhist monks. You know that one? Well, it's a good story. Okay. So I'm going to tell it to Rosemary because she hasn't heard it before. So there's two Buddhist monks, and they've made vows never to touch a woman. And they come to a river, and there's an old woman who's standing there by the riverside. She said, will you take me across? The one monk just starts walking across the river. The other one picks her up and carries her across the river. She thanks him and goes on her way. So, the one monk says to the other monk, I can't believe you took a vow never to touch a woman, and yet, you carried her across. And for miles and miles and miles of walking, he harangues the other monk, who finally stops and pushes him up against a tree and says, I'm going to tell you something. I only carried her across the river. You, on the other hand, have carried her for the last 10 miles. What are we thankful for there? Sometimes people just don't get what the whole purpose of being thankful is. It's a matter of just listening and being thankful. It does not require any further response. But when it does have a response, it is often a wonderful response because people are very thankful for what they've been given. When I look at the church, and I know some of you better than others, but I know most of you well enough, even on a first meeting, as Ray says, I'm a cold reader, a good cold reader. I know most people well enough on a good cold reading to know that there are wonderful gifts that you all have to offer. Whether you do offer them or not is not within my way of asking, or even my way of making you do it. But you may want to do it, and you may think about how it is that the gifts that you have actually fit into the whole picture, even this picture here tonight. And when I look at the people that are here, I can think of each gift that they have or may not have in order to offer that. If you want to just go down like this side of the church, and you think about what the people that are here assembled, and I've known some of them for 12, 13 years or more, if you go down the line and you think about what it is that each one of them has to offer, and you put that all into a basket, and then you offered that to this side of the church, it would be more than they could handle. It really would. Peg and Kathy are always looking for people to help out and be on the board or help with the work that they do. They are. And whenever they find anybody who's willing to do anything, they are so thankful because they know what it's like to try to find those people and to do it all themselves. They're not complaining about the people who haven't done anything anymore. That's how it started out. Now they're thankful for anybody who does anything. And it is a wonderful way to live. Much better than whining about the people who never did anything. So if you take the time to think about the gifts we are given. When I was in college, and I was actually when I was in seminary, my goddaughter's children, I always went there for Thanksgiving. We had to go around the table, and before we were able to eat anything, we had to say one thing that we were thankful for. I used to think that was pretty good. Now it's gotten hokey and old, so we don't do that anymore. But I think it'd be very interesting to think about for a second one thing that we have been given that causes us to think about God. Now that would be interesting. Or to think about the universe, to think about karma, to think about life forces. What's the one thing that we've been given that makes us stop and think about God? I'll ask you that question now. What's Fran, my loyal secretary here. So I can put her on the spot. What's the one thing that you've been given personally, that makes you stop and think about your relationship with God or the relationship with the world? Whatever.
I think it's the ability that God's given me, I guess, that I'm able to enjoy new experiences. I think God's given me that gift to always be open to others. That's a gift that God has given me.
God, I mean, that's a wonderful thing to.
That's what I think.
That's neat.
And especially in the last year, I've just understood more about myself. So I appreciate that.
What's one thing that you've been given? What's one thing that you've been given that really? I know. Souls, I wasn't gonna let you do that. Yeah. Yeah. Think harder. Dig deeper. Speak to the microphone, please. Okay. To be teachable. We should be writing this down. I know we should be. To be teachable. That's good. Yeah. To be able to learn, to be able to be put in a place where you can actually learn something new and realize that you haven't learned everything by this point. And I don't know it all. Yeah. That's a good thing. That's a good thing to know. Some other people. Well, hey, you know I'm going to come to you.
Yeah, all right. Well, I wanted to say Kathy and Jeffrey.
But we already know that.
We know that. Okay. Then being given a good brain, which allows me to think and hopefully be productive and use it not only for my own gains but for other people's gains. So I think we're very blessed to have a good brain that we can use. It's a wonderful tool.
It is. John, tell me something new.
Me?
Yes, you. You're the only John here that I know of.
It's pretty easy for me because my wife has MS and there's very little she can do. And what God has given me is the ability to take care of things. Because she just couldn't. And it would have been a terrible burden on my family if I weren't there. So that's an easy one for me.
What would she say?
Same thing.
That she was giving you.
I'm sorry?
That she was giving you. What would your wife say that would be her thing that she's been given that's you?
Love.
Yeah, love. Yeah. Some other people want to offer. I was picking on the obvious people who couldn't squirm away, but some other people want to offer some things. Yes, Beth.
I'm going through a very difficult time personally, and I just thank God for the support of my friends and my family. Without whom I would not be going through this difficult time.
Some other people? Yeah, Elizabeth.
My life was very much in jeopardy when I was a child. There's no good reason why I'm here, but I'm here, and it keeps God in my mind a lot.
And you keep getting better and better.
I keep getting older. It's kind of amazing.
But I've watched you in the last year, from shrinking Violet in the back to boisterous and boisterous. A place where you feel that you can actually say something.
Right.
I think that's wonderful. What about people who feel that, and there are people here tonight perhaps who feel that way, that there isn't much that is left that have been given? What comfort does the gospel, or what comfort does any of it offer? This is a tough time for a lot of people, especially the holidays. We're coming up to that, and people feel despair and hurt and anger and loss, what message is there here for that person who, it's not that they haven't been given anything, it's just that there are so many other things that seem to be much more pressing. What moment is there? Yeah, here. Let me just say.
I would say that what you said earlier, that even though it's difficult to receive, to feel, to open oneself to receiving, that's the thing, because people that you're talking about, they seem to be so closed off, and so, looking at how sad they are, that they can't see what people are trying to give them.
Maybe. That may be true, but maybe some people may know everything and be very, very thankful for it, but still not filled. And I think that what the gospel offers is to say, relax. It's okay. It doesn't have to be anything. But it is there. It is there. And it happens, I think, and you won't be surprised to hear me say this, that happens in the gathering of the community. When the people come together, even if nothing happens, you still have the people there anyway who know you, love you, want to be with you, and are there, just being there. Remember that movie, Being There? You, Peter Sellers? You hated that movie? Oh. That's one thing he's not thankful for this activity. But Peter Sellers. Let's be thankful for Peter Sellers. Yes. And Elkie Summer. Let's be thankful for that. The whole thing, part of it is just of the thankfulness. It's just knowing that people are there, that other people are there, that someone's there. And even if you never use it. I'll tell you a story. I don't know if I told this to the whole congregation before, but there was a time in my life back about 13 years ago, I guess it was, just before I came here, and everything was wrong. I ended a bad relationship, which was taking me down the tubes. I almost lost my store. I had lost my job. I was about to lose my home because it had been almost repossessed by someone who had taken a lot of money and stolen things from me. I didn't even know what was happening. Everything was just about the worst that it could possibly be. And this is no joke. I'm quite serious to you. I had a big white panel van at that time that I used to drive. I got in my car, my truck, and I decided that I was going to go and just drive it off the Tappan Zee Bridge, whatever I could do. I really had. That was it. I was so low. I have never ever felt that way. And those people who know me would say, it's hard to believe that, but it's true. I mean, it was just the worst part I could ever think of. I pulled out of the driveway, I went about 30 feet, and my neighbor's light was on. It was about 9:30 at night. And I don't know what made me stop, but I decided to pull in her driveway. And I got on a regular doorbell, got her out of bed. She was in that gown, she said, what are you doing here? It's really late. I said, can I just talk to you a minute? And this intrigued her because I've never talked to her ever. But her light was on. So I went in and I sat down with her and I told her what's going on. It took about 2 hours. She didn't say anything the whole time. She's like, I said, so there, Carol. What do you think? She said, God, I would have driven my truck off the bridge. And we laughed. We started to laugh. And from that moment on, it was all okay. Once we laughed, and once I knew there was somebody else, she didn't do anything, really. She just listened. But she was there. The light was on. Yeah.
I'd like to share a story, too. A little similar. I closed the store. I was in financial difficulty. I got a job right after closing it, thank goodness. Couldn't handle it. A week later, I quit. I didn't know what was going on. I could handle the job, but I couldn't handle emotionally, I guess, closing my business. I was told take a month off, or at least 2. Instead, what I did is I went out right away and I got another job. Had that for about 9 days. And I wasn't even able to read the newspaper on the train. I couldn't explain what I was going through. It was a really deep depression, I think. My wife tried to console me, other people tried to help, but I was very much out of character. On 5th Avenue at the corner of 5th, and I guess it's 51st Street or so, where St. Patty's is, I find myself on the corner, and I'm trying to time how I'm going to walk in front of an oncoming bus. And I'm waiting for the lights to go right, and for the bus to pick up speed. And I basically had that feeling of, let me end it. And then I turned around, I don't know if I heard a sound, and I just got pulled in by the grandeur of St. Patrick's, and I just left the corner and I went in to the church and cried, and basically reached out to other people more after that, and very quickly, within a matter of 2 or 3 weeks, I was back in step. So when you said closing a store and feeling really low, that was the lowest I ever had been in my life, and I could not have ever imagined even coming close to a thought of suicide, and yet I found myself trying to time how I'm ever going to make it successful and step in front of a bus that's going maybe 30 or 40 miles an hour.
I'm sure there's people, well, I know there's people here who have similar stories. And well, I think what the good news, the gospel says, is relax. Everybody has that story. People come to me and they say, Father, you've never heard anything like this before. And I say,
Right.
You're right, I haven't. Please tell me. And the reason I think that counseling sometimes works, not always, but sometimes works, is because there's so many other people that have had that story. And the one thing that you can be sure of is even if people do not have that story, that if they are in a community with you, that they are empathetic to your situation. People used to say to me, how can you do marriage counseling? You've never been married. I said, I've never been dead either, but I help people with that. You don't have to be something in order to have empathy for it, in order to be in community with one another. That is one gift that I'm very thankful for, that we are able to share even tonight, even in laughter and in some sadness and recalling sad times. And again, remembering people who, for this holiday, it's very, very sad. And there are many people that it's true. But the one thing that we can say is, relax, it's okay. You don't have to be anything other than who you are, because we are in community with you. Doesn't mean we actually love you. We don't have to like you, but we're in community with you. Do you have people in your community who you just probably may never ever talk to, but they're part of your community, and you feel a bond to them because they're part of your community? This is how I felt about the woman across the street. I rang her doorbell at 9:30. I'm sure she's been talking about that for a long time, about the time that guy came and rang her doorbell. I mean, it was just really amazing. Actually, now we're very good friends.
Did she go to a priest?
Oh yeah. But
So that would have been strange for her.
It would have been strange for her.
The priest consulting her.
Yeah, I mean, where do priests get to go with all the stuff they have? You know, you ever thought about that?
I thought the priest.
Yeah, no. They say, please, my agenda is very full. I have 200 parishioners of my own. And they say, okay, let's go to the bishop. Oh, no, we're not going to go there. You know, really, there are times where you really don't know where to go. But I think that the one thing that the gospel does say to me tonight is, you know what, relax. Just relax. It's okay. You don't have to have any place to go. You just have to know that there is a place. And I'm hoping that for many people, for all of you, if no other time in your life, if you need it, you know that this is the place. And that you can be and come here. And that's worth being thankful.
Scott will testify in just a since I've been a member here, I'm actually happy. Okay. I find very comfortable here. And I join the choir, and I help the homeless, and I find I'm very happy when I come here. I joined the garden club in Rochelle. I've taken bits and pieces of the whole entire congregation.
And whoever thought that a Jewish boy from the Bronx would ever be a member of the Episcopal Church in New Rochelle? Although I must tell you, people have been asking, are you sure it's an Episcopal Church? Anthony and I were away this weekend, and we at the American Academy of Religion, we were telling people about the church and saying, that sounds sort of like Unitarian, maybe Universalist. No, I think Godless might be right. Do you believe in the Trinity? Well, there's some people who do, but not very many. Then how can you call yourself a Christian church? I said, I don't think we ever put those two words together, actually, in the service. We say Christian, and we say church, but do we ever put it together as, we are a Christian church? I don't know. But I hope that, if nothing else, we are a church that knows that its members, and even people who are not members, the people who walk in for the first time, that they are welcome, and that we will spend time, and that we will keep our light on for them, even at 9:30 at night. I hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving this year, and that you take the moment just to think about all the things that have been given to you. And if not, just relax. Service continues on page 4.